Good evening and welcome to the FE Bar. Another race has in the books with the Monaco Eprix. It's all done and it was a great win for Jaguar. Absolute domination, nullified the other teams. It was absolutely brilliant. Joining me tonight, as always, is Mr. Jack Pickering. And we'll be discussing everything tonight. It is your show. It's a fan show. So if you want to get involved, get in our Discord and you will be on the show and have your say on the Monaco Eprix. Mr. Pickering, what an absolute Monaco Eprix. I love Monaco. Right, we'll get into that. But first, you're in an Oxford United top and we need to talk about Oxford United. So what was your weekend? Why weren't you in Monaco? I can't hear you.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yes. Oh yeah, we got playoffs, mate. We got playoffs. So I went down to Exeter on Saturday, to see my beloved Oxford United secure the playoff spots. Absolutely fantastic, and thank you for letting me, so I didn't have to do anything on Saturday whatsoever. It was a very long day. They moved the kickoff to 12:30, so
yeah, they did.
I had to travel down to Exeter. I left Oxford. I left my house to pick up my mates at like 6:30 in the morning, and didn't get back till like 8 o'clock. So I was absolutely shattered by the end of it. Put on top of that, driving a car I didn't really know. Drove Dad's car. But absolutely worth it. The team did a fantastic job. I am very sorry to Des Buckingham, who I slandered quite a lot earlier in the season. But he's done it for us, and honestly overjoyed. We're in the playoffs, and we get the easiest side of the draw because we finished fifth as well, which is amazing.
Fifth, so you played the team that's played fourth, and then
yes,
fourth.
we played Peterborough, who a few weeks ago we smashed 5-0. So
means playoffs though. Mean nothing.
Yeah, which is fantastic, because the other option would have been Bolton, who smashed us 5-0 when we were on the telly a couple months back. So
lovely. There we go.
Yeah.
What a weekend, Mr. Pickering said. I was in Monaco, and
yes!
it feels weird. It was great to be back in the paddock. I know some of you lot, so if you are in the chat and you were in Monaco, I think Lou was in Monaco. I can't remember off the top of my head who else is in Monaco. So if you were in Monaco, please make sure you say in the chat, and we'd love to hear from you today. We'd love to get your experience if you were actually at the race. We'd love to have you on, just even if you don't want to talk too much about the race or you don't have much to say, just the general fan experience. Like there was a lot of talk about the fan village. The fan village has been in the same place for Monaco, but there was a lot of rumors or things that people didn't really like the fan village. So I would like to get someone's opinion on that. So if that was what you got, or maybe you enjoyed it. So how the show works, basically, because I know there was a couple of people who were asking how the show works. Effectively, this is a radio show for the fans, where you get to have your say on Formula E. So if you would like to come on and speak to us directly, all you need to know, there is a Discord link on the live ticker. Obviously, don't copy and paste that. If you ! Discord in chat, Nightbot will kindly give you a link. You click that link and fingers crossed it will take you to our Discord and you can join. Then you'll join the waiting room. You'll see a little voice channel called the waiting room. If you jump onto the waiting room, then a little bit later on in the show, so currently we have, let's have a look, switchboard is that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people currently on the switchboard, so it's going to be a busy night already, Mr. Pickering. Yeah. Right?
Yes. So, I was just going to say, because obviously you're hosting the stream, you're the account. Can you pin that Nightbot thing?
Can I pin just so, that? Like, you're asking me to do. You're asking me to do things. I can't currently do it. No, because I'm not technically signed in.
Okay.
It's the Streamlabs rubbishness. But it's been before we start talking about Formula E, I must admit this has been the hardest show I've had to prepare. So doing another job and then doing this at the same time, and I know Pico and I know there's other people in the Formula E world that don't just focus fully on Formula E, because unfortunately working just on Formula E doesn't pay the bills enough. So coming back from
I think collectively we spent more than
Yeah,
we ever got back on
than we've
Formula
ever
E.
made. That's very
But
true.
it's for the love of it. It's
But
absolutely for the love of it.
100%, and obviously to cover the sport as well as we do. But if essentially getting home late, midnight last night, to then go to be at another job, then come home in the evening and set this all up. Oh my god! Like, if you couldn't tell, my script was not 100% bulletproof as normally it would be. But we got to talk Formula E now because.
Wait. Normally it's bulletproof. What?
I don't know. I felt like it's bulletproof. Normally it's all right. I don't know. Stop taking the mick out of my intros, right? But yeah, so effectively, if you want to come on, just literally join the exclamation mark Discord in chat. There was one earlier. I know there's not been too many chat messages at the moment, so you should be able to see it, and we'd love to have you on. But we've got to start because Jaguar. Oh my god, right? Managed to perfection. I said to Nick, and we'll hear from Nick Cassidy earlier, from what he said in the press conference. I kind of said to him when I spoke to him, you managed that perfectly, right? And he was like, thank you. And I was like, oh, Nick, like, give me something more. But then he said, this is what he wanted to do in London in that first race. He made that reference to, this is what I wanted to do in that championship race in London race 1, and it didn't work. So he was quite happy to see it work. But in terms of allowing, obviously Evans was the lead driver, allowing him to take the attack modes, they controlled it. They literally stopped anybody else from winning that race.
Yeah, absolutely stellar from Jaguar. Like, they played it absolutely to perfection, and that it was the most perfectly executed Formula E race I think I've ever seen from a team in terms of how to play with the strategy with the other guys. Well, I say the other guys, the rest of the competitors. And yes, there was a bit in that race that I think David Coulthard was quite happy that was happening, where it was 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, where you had the 2 Jags, 2 DSs, 2 Porsches, 2 Nissans, and so I think that was good for his OCD or something like that. But yeah, honestly, that is how you do the perfect Formula E race from a team's perspective. They did get maximum points from the race. Obviously, they didn't get 3 points for pole position, but they got maximum points from that race as well because Nick Cassidy backed off on the penultimate lap to make sure they had a final lap to do the fastest lap. And I was looking at it earlier. I'm going to have to remind myself how much it was by. It was by like 0.003 of a second that he got that fastest lap by or something. There were people who did faster laps
outside the points, yeah.
Yeah, outside the points like Jake Dennis and James Rubler.
Yeah.
That's the rules.
That's beautiful, isn't it? So what we're going to do then? We're going to hear now from Mitch Evans and what he said in the press conference after the race.
Very interesting race for us as viewers, no doubt. Interesting for you behind the cockpit as well. Starting with you, Mitch.
Yeah, look, we knew it was going to be a tough race. We knew it was going to be obviously all about the strategy around the attacks. Obviously, Nick and I started side by side, so that kind of helped things as the race evolved. We had a rough game plan before going into the race, but I really owe this win to Nick. He really helped me when it mattered. I helped him when it mattered as well, but obviously I'm the one that's come out on top. So I really appreciate the team player he was today, and it's just an amazing achievement for the team and for me to finally get my first win here after trying, even before Formula E I was trying in GP2 and everything. So to finally get on the top step here feels, it means the world.
Yeah, like you say, very good day at the office. First win of the season for you. First win for you in Monaco. First win for the team as a manufacturer in Monaco as well. Just to go back to about the strategy there, was there any sort of pre-arrangement or agreement in regards to strategy between you and Nick, considering you were starting pretty close to each other?
Yeah, obviously we discuss all potential scenarios, but majority of the time when you get on track, the race happens completely differently. So, but the way it turned out, I think it was as expected, and obviously we knew we were going to be racing. We're going to be with each other on the track. So instead of obviously tripping over ourselves. We may as well help each other, and it's quite a big attack loss here. So I think the DS guys were trying to do the same thing as well. But yeah, we executed that perfectly. And but yeah, obviously, we discussed this, pre-race, but also other scenarios that could potentially happen. So but yeah, it played out exactly as we wanted.
So it was interesting there, and Ben actually in chat said really the only thing that Jaguar didn't do was obviously secure the front row lockout, and Evans was quick the whole way through there. And for me, yeah, in that qualifying where he cut the chicane at the Nouvelle chicane, which basically he got his lap time deleted. So I suppose if there was one thing that Jaguar could have done better, could have got that front row lockout. Would have made it even easier probably for them to win the race. But what I thought interesting, I'm going to hear from Nick Cassidy as well. And Evans there was praising Nick, right? And he was like really thankful. And it was really interesting. Like if you go back to Diriyah with Nick Cassidy, and if you maybe go back to that London race one where you kind of got his point, Nick doesn't strike me. And I think if you speak to Nick, and I think you'll hear from the interview that we've done on the YouTube channel, he feels like he's, cutthroat. He wants to win, and obviously he does. But he's got this help the team side of him. Right, and he's quite forward thinking in that, which is I suppose quite impressive. But for Nick Cassidy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know that like Nick's obviously the lead car in the championship as well, so that's also something that he has that the team has to factor in as well. But the thing is, the team wants to focus on maximising the team points. At this point in the season, I mean, I know, and this is quite a stunning fact that we're now halfway through the season, but it up to this point, it hasn't really mattered in terms of who's in front. When we get down to the Portland, the Londons, then yeah, it will be a bit more crucial in terms of who comes in terms of who is the lead driver, but I think Nick was happy to sit behind, and we know what Nick's like, and we've spoken to him already this season, and he knows that even though there was that thing that happened in Rome last year, there was the stuff in Diriyah, but there is no way that these two are going to turn into a Hamilton-Rosberg sort of thing, and every single mention of it gets automatically shut down by Nick. He because they are quite tight, and also one thing that I will say about that whole Rosberg-Hamilton comparison thing, I think F1 is far more of a toxic environment compared to Formula E.
Yes.
Formula E is super wholesome. I will challenge anyone to make a bad person in the paddock, because it's
for sure
very, very hard to. But
I agree.
Yeah.
Evans hasn't had the best start of the season, right? And Cassidy kind of knew
no.
here that he got 19 points because he got the fastest lap. Do you think any of it thought he was happy to do this because he doesn't see Mitch Evans as a championship threat at this precise moment? Big question.
No.
Big question.
We don't do big questions. We do the funny stuff here. I think where Mitch was in the championship, I see where you're coming from, but the thing is, I know that Nick will always see Mitch as someone who will be able to pull it out of the bag in like
any race.
Yeah, and in any race at a click of a finger. So, yeah,
because
I don't think Nick will ever rule out Mitch until he is mathematically no longer possible to win the championship. And so, and the thing is, Nick's a very straightforward guy, and he will consider all the options until they're absolutely not possible.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Nick Cassidy now then, because it was interesting. He goes on to talk about radio communication. So when I asked it in the media pen, I was like, so was it like your decision to do what we did? And I think Evans kind of said actually it was more of a team decision, even though there may have been some radio struggles. But we're going to hear from Nick Cassidy now.
Yeah, look, firstly, I think today's about Mitch. He won the Monaco Eprix, which I think is very deserving winner. many podiums here, very close. I was lucky enough to be in a position with him the other way around last year and got the win here. It's very special, and I'm super happy for him, for the team, Jaguar TCS Racing. On my side of the garage, I think, yeah, look, we had the performance today. I think not quite as much as Mitch, in practice and qualifying, struggled more or less a little bit, but we were there when it counted, and it's a great team result.
Huge points, all. On the team radio, it sounded like you had a few concerns that there was a bit of slow pace that might end up costing you. Can you talk us through that concern at the time?
Yeah, I just thought at one point we had really quick cars and we could just go. We had a 1-2, which to be honest we then did, and it played out. We had radios today. I don't know if for you, Mitch, man, couldn't speak. It's harder, and it was really hard. Like, we were repeating messages. It might sound like we're stressed, but we're actually just stressed on whether the messages have gone through or not. Yeah, communication was difficult from a radio point of view.
Help if I unmute myself. So it was one of those where I thought it was interesting where he said they had those radio struggles, and when we dug deeper a little bit, and those interviews are on Formula Rezone, YouTube channel, it was interesting that Evans kind of explained it more than Cassidy. Cassidy was kind of like, this is what I wanted to do, so I knew what I was doing in this situation to ensure we got the 1-2. Whereas Evans was like, we did discuss this as a team. So I thought that was interesting. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to run through the championship standings, because we mentioned there that Mitch Evans was sort of out of it. But if we have a look now, he's kind of back in the game slightly in 5th place there. He's on 77 points. So Nick Cassidy's there in 2nd place on 95, but it has brought him back into championship contention. You may have said, a couple of races ago, yes, it may have been too early, but you think Mitch Evans winning the championship, a little bit unlikely. But right now, you definitely have to say with that Jaguar powertrain, if they can do well, then they'll be in. So you've got Pascal Wehrlein there. He's got 102 points now. Nick Cassidy there with 95. Jake Dennis still hanging in there, surprisingly, I think, with 89. Roland 88. Evans there, we said, on 77. Maximum Gunther on 65. Level with Jean-Eric Verne with 65 points. But obviously, Gunther's race win puts him above Jean-Eric Verne. Sam Bird, interesting. We'll have to talk about Sam Bird later, obviously, with his injury, and Taylor Barnard. So we'll definitely talk about that later. And Stoffel Van Dorn 9th. And Antonio Felix da Costa now in the top 10 in the championship standings. So if you think about it, Evans is definitely, I would say, for me, before Monaco, I didn't see him as a champion contender. Now I feel like he's got enough points to technically be there.
Yeah. I think Formula E put a post up saying that there's only 25 points separating the top guys.
Yeah.
From, is it Wehrlein down to Mitch?
Well, I'm trying to do the maths now. Yes, that would be 25 points. Yes, it is 100%.
Good. Right. Just making sure that my memory is more or less correct. I mean, I could have just looked at the standings that were literally on my other monitor until about 10 seconds ago, but I didn't. But yeah, I mean, it's the beauty of Formula E that it is super wide open, and you have to factor in where would have da Costa been if he hadn't had that disqualification in Misano? Where would Roland be if he hadn't
didn't run out of power
on the final lap of the second race in Misano? But yeah, I mean, and we've got we've now got 3 powertrains that are constantly fighting up the front in Jag, Porsche, Nissan, and DS are there or thereabout. Gunther won in Tokyo, and Van Dorn got on the podium, which I'm super happy for.
Yeah, we're going to talk Van Dorn a bit after the break.
Yeah, because joining the Penske team hasn't been what I think he thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The thing is, I can't remember who said it, but someone said that in the chat multiple weeks ago that you can DS going to the Penske outfit, you can't you can take them to Penske, but you can't take the Dragon out of Penske.
Yeah, you can't take Dragon used to be good, They used to be good back in the day.
Season 1, Season 2.
Season 1, Season 2. Then it all went downhill.
Then they fell the cliff.
Yeah, figure it out. A little resurgence season 5 with Gunther and Felipe Nasr and that stuff. Even then, it still wasn't that great. But I think it's time, and I think there's only one person we have to start with because we've got Chris in chat, who wants to talk about obviously a massive Mitch Evans fan, massive Jaguar fan. So you must be delighted. Chris, welcome to the effing bar.
How are we doing?
How are you? Monaco, delightful for you, surely.
Oh yeah, fantastic! I'm in a very good mood. I've been in a very good mood all weekend.
Excellent. Talking to me about Jaguar's strategy. Obviously, Mitch Evans came out on top. Obviously, didn't get the qualifying that he wanted, but obviously managed to get himself ahead of Cassidy. And your thoughts on Cassidy? Like, did you expect him to be such a team player for Jaguar?
Well, I was going to say with that final point, honestly, yes, because obviously you've seen him in the past 2 or 3 seasons, and yes, okay, he is getting very used to being a team leader, which obviously he was in Envision. But as I say, it's not the first time he's prioritised the team over himself. I was surprised that they didn't swap them.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad that they didn't swap them.
Well, it was interesting. I think Nick Golding, who's not here today, but he was on the way to the track. He was like, today's Mitch Evans' day. And it turned out to be because he was quick. And it's rare to see now a driver who's quick in FP1, quick in FP2, qualifying. I suppose if Misano was more not Peloton, and we may have seen that with Jake Hughes because Jake Hughes was very similar, but Mitch Evans sort of converted that dominance which Jake Hughes didn't in Monaco to and actually won the race.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I'd say that if Mitch can replicate that weekend after next, see, he is back in this.
Yeah, I would fully agree. I'd fully agree.
And yes, okay, after that is Shanghai and Portland, which will suit the Porsches a lot more, fortunately. But yeah, I think he's back. I remember obviously 2 weeks ago I said Mitch is probably out of it, but
that was my next question. I was like, do you think Mitch is now back in the title race, or what were you saying before? Did you think it was basically Cassidy's to lose for Jaguar and he would have become the main man? But I assume you think Mitch Evans is back in this title one.
In's a strong word, I think.
Yeah.
I think like probably before Monaco, I'd probably say about 5 to 10% chance of being in the running come London. I'm now thinking probably 15 to 20%.
15, 20. I still think it's a long way to go, but consistency we know in this championship is key, right? So if you can be consistent, and I spoke to Nick and I said, do you think like his luck's turning now because he's had his bad races? He's like, yeah, I'm hopeful now that the luck's turning, but we go to Berlin in a couple of weeks' time, and we don't know what that track is. Speaking to a couple of drivers, they don't know anything about Berlin. They don't know what style of race we'll have, whether it'll be another peloton or if it'll be a normal standard race that we've seen before. So it's interesting. But if you look at the calendar now, Berlin could be a peloton.
Yeah.
Shanghai could be a peloton, and Portland. So annoyingly, pace. Yeah, I know. Annoyingly, pace may not be. Mitch Evans could have the pace, but if they get it wrong during the peloton style, then it could go south. It could be brilliant for him because his rivals could not do well, but in terms of his championship charge, it could derail him as well at the same time.
I will say I do reckon Berlin will be a peloton race because if you think back to last year was a peloton style race, and the new circuit for Berlin this season has a lot more straights and braking and tight corners. So yeah, it's going to be very peloton-y in Berlin, 100%. So yeah, so we got peloton race in Berlin, peloton race in Shanghai, peloton race in
just everywhere.
Portland,
yeah, everywhere,
and then a backlog in London.
Yep.
So
we'll see what happens.
4 races to end the season.
It is, and that's what I think last season. The only reason why obviously Cassidy and Mitch were in it at the end of last season is it was London. I'm trying to think last season. London last, Rome before that.
Yep.
Portland, but Dennis did pretty much dominate Portland.
Yep.
And then what was before?
Jakarta.
Jakarta. Yeah, Jakarta is a Jag track,
which is no longer there, unfortunately.
Which is no longer on the calendar.
Yeah. It'll be back next year, but yeah.
Before we let you go, Chris, who else impressed you? So if you were just watching as a neutral, who else stood out for you in Monaco?
Well, I mean, the obvious name here is obviously Bernard.
Okay.
I think that's obviously that's a bit of the cliche answer, but to be thrown in there at 19 years old, half an hour practice, and then beat your teammate, what more
Due to a
could be
penalty.
asked of you?
But yeah.
Yeah, all right, technically not, but I was going to say, if you look on the paper,
He finished
he's wearing
ahead.
his Oxford United shirt. Doesn't matter what the stat says. If you look at the score at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And he beat his teammate. So
He did. You could argue that was true.
We could have won 10-0 on Saturday, and it still would have been the same result. But we finished 2-1. So yeah.
Happy days. Yeah, we're definitely in the second half of this show. We're definitely going to be talking to Taylor Barnard. We have his interview up, ready to come. So make sure you hear what Taylor had to say. Chris, absolutely, we were delighted that you were here because when we saw your name pop up, we were like, yes, let's get you in first. Thanks for being on the FE Bar, and we'll chat to you later.
Yeah, no worries. Speak to you later.
Right. I think what we'll do is we'll do one more call and then we'll take a break. So if we grab, I think Natalie, we can grab Natalie in.
Yeah. Right.
And then we'll do Nikki after the break.
Right.
Natalie, welcome to the FE Bar.
Hello, boys.
How are you? How's things going?
So.
Well, I hope things are okay at least. But talk to me Formula E, right? Because obviously, McLaren-wise, Sam Bird, not what you wanted, and he showed an X-ray with his hand today. We saw that. I don't know how long he's out for. He's hoping that he can be fairly quick. Do you think he'll be back for Berlin, or do you think we'll be seeing Taylor there?
Portland at the earliest, I think.
Oh, okay. So you think Taylor will be in for a couple of races then?
Unfortunately.
Poor
it's
Taylor.
the same.
Poor Taylor.
Nothing against Taylor. Nothing against Taylor.
There's nothing against Taylor. It's just, Sam had a really good season until the other day, and
Yeah, it's been the resurgence. I think let's talk about Sam for a little bit because obviously it is unfortunate, but it is the resurgence Sam needed, right? Because you'd argue that he did all right at Jaguar, but then Mitch Evans did sort of outperformed him, and you didn't know where Sam was going to go, right? And I know he mentioned, and it was really interesting when Nick Golden said, he saw what the media was saying about him, and I don't want to say that it was true, but the question was raised, like, where does Sam go from here, right? And he's gone to McLaren, and he's making it his own there. He's getting the good performances. He's up there with Jake Hughes, and they're fairly similar, which is exactly what Sam Bird needed. Because if Jake Hughes was beating Sam Bird, then you'd start to argue that Sam Bird's Formula E career was heading to its end.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but that's not the case. Like I've said on about 6 FE bars this year, he's back with Laney. Laney can get the most out of him, but be a friend behind the scenes at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. What do you make on your Envision lot? Because they are puzzling me at the moment.
Oh, God. We won the team's championship last year, and now it's all going to proverbial poop.
Yes, it is, 100%. Thank God you said that, by the way.
Not
something else.
I'm not going to swear on YouTube.
But yeah, why do you think it's going so wrong for Envision? What do you think's the problem?
I don't know. It's puzzling me too, and it's like the classic example is Mercedes before they became McLaren. They won the championship in season 8, become McLaren in last year, and have been struggling to fight for the title ever since. Now we've seen this year that the Nissan powertrain is becoming a lot stronger.
Yep.
But Envision have the Jaguar powertrain, which they've won the championship with last year. You'd think they had it worked out, but, it doesn't seem to be the case this year. We've had a double DNF already. Robin just hasn't worked the car well at all. Well, he's only made the duels once.
But Sebastian's also struggling.
Yeah, they both are. It pains me to admit, but they both are struggling this year.
Yeah, when I'm in Berlin, I suppose they're the two I need to try and target.
You won't.
I won't be able to.
You will speak to Joel Eriksson
not Berlin.
Yeah, you'll speak to Joel
Paul
Eriksson
Aaron.
and Paul Aaron.
To be fair, that's-
and on that, how are you feeling about their chances? Because obviously we saw Taylor step in this weekend. And,
Oh my! We just talk about Taylor Barnard.
and admittedly, they will get double the amount of track time than Taylor had. In Berlin, but coming in as like Paul Aaron's only done the FP0 in Misano. I know that Joel's did a few races a couple of years ago, but with where Envision are at the moment, how panicky are you about Berlin to just get any sort of points on the board?
Good question. I'm
That's
not
why he pays the
expecting
big bucks.
points, and let's leave it at that.
That's fair.
It's fair.
That's fair.
But are you excited to see? I suppose we've seen Joel Eriksson in the car before, but
Yeah.
Paul Aaron, new name. Like, are you excited to see what they could do?
Well,
do you think
Paul's
they'll just
been
be at the
doing
end?
amazing. Paul's been doing amazing in F2. He sits second in the standings at the minute, and I think he's one to watch for the future. Same with Taylor. Taylor, 1.5 hour practice session, straight into quali, and finished P14 in the race ahead of his teammate.
Yeah, he did
You know?
he did an amazing job. As I said, we'll talk Taylor a little bit more
Right.
in the second half of the show.
2 seconds. Hang
Go
on.
on.
I'm just gonna
He's looking at his phone.
scroll up.
What's he found?
Because I'm trying to find. Yes, here we go. After I got the release about Joel Eriksson and Paul
Yep.
Aaron getting the Envision gig,
Correct.
I sent that over to Jack to the
Oh.
reaction. Who the F is Paul Aaron? And
Jack.
it is just an F. It is just an F. There's no swearing on it. He's very PG. He's a
Yeah,
primary school teacher, obviously. But I thought I'd got to throw you under the bus for that.
That's true. It's true. It's not true, but it's like I haven't been okay. It's my own fault, right? Because I haven't been a massive F2, F3 follower for a while. I don't know, since the days of when did I watch F2? It was like Jolien Palmer era, probably. And
When it was
that's,
still GP2.
yeah. So I've kind of watched F2, but I've not watched F2. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. I've just kept an eye on it. I was like, oh, yeah, I know, like even Kimi Antonelli, that probably was like, who's he? And why does everyone want to sign him? But life's busy, right? When you're covering Formula E, and if it's not Formula E,
You're not bothered, basically.
Not that I'm not bothered. Like, I like Formula One, but Formula E is enough, and just trying to watch a Formula One race at sometimes in life can be quite busy in itself. So I'll have to apologise that I didn't know who Paul Aaron was, but I do look forward to speaking to him come Berlin in a couple of weeks' time. Same question as I asked Chris. Apart from Envision and Jaguar. Not Jaguar, McLaren, sorry. Anyone else impressed you? Anyone else stood out for you in Monaco? Anything that you liked about the race before we let you go?
Not really, apart from Taylor being impressive. Obviously, Jake as well, P16. I mean, it's not much to write home about, but
yeah,
he had a damaged front wing. Yes, while you could argue the safety car helped. Yeah. You know, you could argue the safety car helped, but P16, when you've dropped out the points, isn't half bad, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not what he wants though. But he's still, despite that bad race, and even though he's not, he's been, I think, lucky with the peloton style of race, Jake Dennis, where he's been able to fight back. So that's why he's quite happy with the peloton style race at the moment. Because if there wasn't a peloton style of race at this in Formula E, Jake Dennis wouldn't be in this championship.
No, he wouldn't be P.
He wouldn't be P3.
No.
And still in a chance.
He'd be about P9 with no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, and indeed. But Natalie, thank you so much.
Before I go
on.
Congratulations to Oxford United for making the playoffs.
Yeah! Let's go! And congratulations to you for getting promotion. And
I'll be in the championship.
Oh,
hopefully we will join you in the championship next year, but I'm a little less optimistic because even though I think we can get to Wembley, Whether we can beat Bolton, who I think will beat Barnsley, is another thing. But yes,
Yeah.
Natalie, who do you support? Is it Portsmouth have won up as champions? Derby is the only other team I'm thinking of.
Also,
Yeah.
Pompey did a massive favour to us, and their manager is one of our ex-players who was with us for like 5.5 years. So, well done to Moose and Pompey for going up next year.
Natalie, do you want to do us a favour?
Depends.
Right. The favour is we're going to have a quick break before we run the next part of the show. Would you like to say you're listening to the FE Bar? Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
You're listening to the FE Bar with Jack and Pico. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're going on the break, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
And we are back from our little tiny break, little quick water break. What I wanted to say very quickly, actually, it's a double episode week and we haven't mentioned it. So I wanted to mention it now that we have Lola's Mark Preston, right, former Tech Cheetah team principal, will be joining the show tomorrow to discuss everything Lola, his career in Formula E. So if you have any questions for Mark Preston and you're not in the Discord yet, make sure you get in the Discord, !Discord, think of a question. So tomorrow night we'll be joined for the first hour between 8 and 9 p.m. We will be joined with Mark Preston to talk everything about Lola and how that deal came about, because it was quite interesting. As soon as he left Tech Cheetah, he basically joined Lola. So I'm very interested to find out the story behind when was Lola's kind of switch. Was it just signing him? What was the conversations? There's so much to talk about, especially with his career in Formula E, and he's managed the drivers like Andre Lotterer and Jean-Eric Verne, and there's definitely some stories behind that. So if you want to ask any questions to Mark Preston, that would be amazing. We're going to continue with the fans because you are absolutely amazing tonight and you are piling into the waiting room. So we were going to talk stuff with Van Dorn, but instead we will talk to you because that's the most important. I think, who should we get? I think Nikki's been in the chat for a bit longest, so I think maybe pull Nikki in.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Nikki, you're on the FE bar. How are you? Nikki, can you hear us? This is a
Yes.
Yes, Nikki. Welcome to the FE bar. How are you?
I'm all right at the moment.
Perfect. What did you make of the Monaco Eprix? What was your thoughts?
Well, obviously not very good actually.
In terms of what?
Some not even starting the race, for an example.
Difficult. What do you, Pico? Talk Sam Bird.
Yeah, no, disappointing. Yeah.
Can I ask, do you or Jack know this answer to this question? Why is it that racing drivers generally hold on to the steering wheel and do not let it go when they crash?
Okay, Pico, do you want this one?
I sort of know the ins and outs.
So do I. I'll let you have it.
Yeah. So basically, it's sort of like they want to save the car more. The long and short of it is that their instincts are trying to
take over.
Yeah, instincts like trying to save the car, trying to continue rather than their own like personal safety. So yeah, no, that's the
that's just very. That doesn't seem logical to me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But when you're in the moment, that is genuinely what happens.
Yeah. And there's also another, well, not a question, but a thought that I've got. I really now think that the Nissan powertrain, especially with Oliver Rowland, could be in contention this year for maybe the championship.
I have to say, I think with Oliver Rowland, if he can work out the peloton styles and if he can do what he kind of did in Misano without the mistake of bolting a bit early and running out of energy, he had the pace. Yeah. And I think on an actual circuit, which we go to in Berlin's a bit different because it's concrete, so we can't really judge the tyres, and so I think that'll be a bit different. But when we get to Shanghai and Portland, those 4 races for Oliver Rowland, if he is going to win this season's championship, I think they're crucial. So, but I at this precise moment, I think if you look at races like Monaco, we've only got London, so there's 2 races where I don't think the Nissan powertrain. If I was to call it now, I can't see Nissan being strong in London. I think that will go back to Pascal and the Jaguar boys. But I think Rowland's only hope is those peloton-style races. What are your thoughts on that, Nikki?
I totally agree with you, to be fair. I think, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Anyone else apart from anyone else impress you from in the race?
Mitch Evans, actually.
Yeah, he did an amazing job, didn't he?
But also, then you could also put Nick Cassidy in there, and the way that he actually became the team player.
Yeah. What do you make of Stoffel Van Dorn? Because obviously we want to talk about Stoffel because he's had a hard time of it, right? He's gone to DS, and DS were the powerhouse of Formula E. And dominating, and then you get Vernon Van Dorn. It's like everyone's like, oh my god, like these two should be amazing together. They should be winning races, and it hasn't quite clicked for Van Dorn. So for him to be on the podium, what was your thoughts on that?
It's a bit difficult to actually see where that lies, because you got to realise that he came from Mercedes. He won with Mercedes, that is now McLaren.
Yep.
And I feel that maybe Jev isn't as good as he used to be when he won his 2 titles.
Okay. Interesting thought.
I don't think he's as good as he was. But
Okay,
I still,
interesting.
but on the other hand, I think Stoffel is very underrated still
Okay.
as a driver.
Yeah, I get that. Pika, what do you think? Stoffel underrated?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a soft spot for Stoff. I mean, he's such a genuinely just lovely person.
You interviewed him like when he
Yeah.
won the championship in
when he won the
Seoul.
championship, and yeah, I tried to get an invite to the after party. I failed. No. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, like, one thing that I do, story time with Jack, story time with Pico now. In Marrakesh, I was just having a wander down the pit lane, saw stuff. Ended up having a 10-15 minute conversation with him, and that just goes to show. Like, and it's the same. Like, this is why I go. You can't find bad people in Formula E. Everyone's lovely.
No.
But yeah, no. Honestly, I'm just super happy for Stoff because so yeah, it's I was super happy to see him back on the podium.
Maybe he's not underrated. Maybe maybe he just fell off for a little while. You know, a bit like Sam Bird did, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But in a different way.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I just think they went to DS, and the DS unfortunately just didn't have the powertrain. It wouldn't work out.
No.
They've caught up a little bit, right? Because they have caught up a little bit this season, but it's not been enough, and especially when it's hard because if we had standard races like Monaco, I think Van Dorn will, because he's gone into the duels, but then's fallen backwards. And I just think if we didn't have Peloton style races, I wonder. I didn't get a chance to really speak to Van Dorn. The video of us, I was borrowing an interview with him because I was trying. We were short for time, so I kind of nudged into Formula E's interview, and we took Formula E's interview at the same time with Stoffel. But I would really be interested to ask it in Berlin to find out if what he's made of those Peloton style races and if they have actually suited his style. But yeah, Van Dorn is. Go on.
But my personal opinion is, I think now what I've seen with the new upgrade to the Gen 3,
Evo,
I think personally, and maybe we'll see at the beginning of next season, I think that Peloton style of racing will carry on.
Okay.
Now that we have a faster car with 4-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm. So you're expecting...
That's my feeling, or that's my opinion.
So you're expecting more Peloton style races next year?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I also believe that maybe there'll be less of the street circuits too.
Yeah. Well,
that's not how I see it, or that's my opinion.
It'll be honestly, I'm a big. If we lose some street tracks, I would be very sad. But and obviously we still don't know what's happening with London in terms of Silverstone, or London, and But May is next month, so we know that the provisional calendar.
I do know people like Sam, for an example. They love street circuits, and
yes.
I think Stoffel likes the street circuit as well.
The street circuits. If you go back to Mazzano, they were all crying out to go to Rome. They all want street circuits. Nick Cassidy in the press conference was like, "We've only got 2 street circuits left. Like, that's pretty rubbish." So all the drivers like the street circuits. One thing before we let you go, before we go to our break, and before we go to Nick at 9, but who's not Nick at 9 today.
But we do have... before we go, please, Jack. Also, for me, what Formula E was based on was street circuits in the beginning. 100%. And it's like, it feels like we're slowly losing that identity.
Okay, so obviously we had Jeff Dodds on, right? And he said that obviously there has to be that shift. The cars are getting faster, and they can't. And we can't go to the tight, twisty street tracks. So what does Formula E do? Because we can't just shut down Regent Street, Oxford Street, and so forth, and make a track round, or make the track round the Mall or something, right? How cool would it be? Yeah, amazing to race around St. James's Park and around Buckingham Palace. That would be unreal, right?
It would be awesome, yeah.
And you could make a small, tiny little track out of it. Yes, it wouldn't be very long, but it's unrealistic, right? So the XL is a great location for Formula E, but if I don't know, I'm going to go. It's a tough one. What do we do?
At the end of the day, Jack, I got invited to a launch back in 21, and my first Eprix was in London, and that's basically what got for me personally. The love of Formula E came from watching racing in and out of a circuit.
Yeah, so on a street circuit, effectively.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And that's
one that's like easy accessible.
Yep.
100%.
It's an interesting. It's a debate that we can have for forever and forever. I think.
And you could have anybody on here, but everybody would have a different opinion. Not necessarily the same opinion as me. Everybody would have a different opinion.
100%, and that's the beauty of this show. You can come on here and share your opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I'm a big lover of street tracks. The more real tracks that we go to, I'm not a big fan. It's not Formula E for me. I love season 1 and season 2 and the early seasons where all we went to was street tracks pretty much until Mexico came in. But I accepted Mexico because it was in the city centre.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm somewhat okay with Portland, because Portland is even though it produces terrible racing, the racetrack is in the middle of Portland City.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's
Also,
why it's allowed.
Also, I like Paris, for an example, is another one that I like.
The Paris was good. Obviously, that track.
Paris is an interesting one.
Yeah. Mainly because of the money, and two, I don't think it's the track limit.
I'm probably going to get the figures wrong, but basically,
20 million-ish?
if Formula E wanted to go back to Paris, they'd have to pay 20 million each time to the Paris government.
Wow.
Right, and do you also before we go to a break, because we need to go to a break because we've got our guest coming on at 9, and I'm gonna tell who it is in a second. Right. The problem with Paris is the track would have been too small now. It was non-energy race, right? So it was flat out Paris. So if it was flat out in Gen 2, it would have been flat out before, right? So it was pointless for Gen 3. Paris unfortunately needed a new track, and unfortunately they want £20 million or euros to do that, and on Formula E were like, no. But Nikki,
much for
absolutely brilliant, really great discussions. Absolutely love having you on. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank you, then, Jack.
Right, so we have a special guest. It's not Nick at 9. Nick is ill. Who's on Nick Struggles today? Right, but I've got a really good friend of mine.
I'm just going to say, ever since the Nick Struggles account came on, I have noticed that Nick has been struggling more and more each week.
So, and we need this. Yeah. We need this in our life. So unfortunately, he's ill. Whether he's listening to us not tucked up in bed somewhere, we hope you are well. But we are very, 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 very lucky to have Jasmine Hughes from Total Motorsport joining us after the break. 1. And it's Nick at 9. But it's not Nick at 9. Well, it's Nick at 9:02. But Jasmine, welcome to your first appearance on the FE Bar. How are you?
Hello, Nick.
Hello, I'm good, thank you very. Yes, Nick standing. I've got to
You got,
fill.
big shoes to fill. Big shoes to
Big
fill.
big shoes to fill. Poor Nick. He's a trooper. He was in the paddock, battled through it, but no, I'm good. Knackered, but it was a great weekend. First time in Monaco. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Have you made a lower third for Jasmine?
I haven't. The time we arranged, give me a break. Give me a break. If Jasmine's on next time, she'll get her lower third. But unfortunately,
you made one for Toby yet when he comes on.
There wasn't enough time. No, I haven't either from E41 News. But obviously, we were on the train right with Nick, so maybe poor Nick. He was really, really, really ill, and he soldiered through. He soldiered through.
What a trooper!
Pretty much. Describe his face and his mood on the train into Monaco early Saturday morning.
There's a picture.
So we turn up on the
it.
platform. Yes, we got God the picture. I've just never seen someone just look like a physical manifestation of just feeling under the weather. Poor Nick. We sort of rocked up and he was there, and I was like, this is a man who has a nasty cold, but like I said, he battled through. He had some incredible paracetamol, which really, really pulled through. Yeah, hopefully he's in bed now, all tucked up.
Nick, we're sending you lots of love, and hopefully you're better for tomorrow. If you can come on tomorrow's show with Mark Preston, that'd be amazing. If not, hopefully we'll be hearing you in Berlin after whether you've recovered from Eurovision, but we'll see.
The people need Nick at 9.
The people need Nick at 9, and the people are missing Nick at 9. But I suppose we've got to start with Jasmine. We've got to start with Jaguar, right? And your thoughts and how they just sewed up that race, and how it was a masterclass, right? People are calling it one of the best managed races in Formula E history.
Yeah, they just made it look so easy. It was just absolutely effortless. They were just so fully in control. It was just brilliant. The second one person went for the attack mode, the other covered, led the race, swapped round. It was like such a perfectly choreographed dance. It was just really quite fun to watch. And, you know, as the race developed, you were really getting a sense for what they were doing. And I think it was quite interesting to watch some of the other teams and the way that the order kind of fell, so that each team was kind of 2 by 2. It was like, I don't know if people were trying to emulate a little Jaguar moment, but they just looked so in control. And it was just such a well-deserved 1-2 for the team.
Yeah, and we had Tom Brooks in chat earlier, so really nice for Tom to be in chat again. But he called it a really strategic race, and I suppose it didn't feel strategic, but I think Jaguar just played the strategy at the right time. They got into the position of being 1-2, and rather than and they were the first team to be 1-2, so they basically they called the shots and made it strategic in that sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. It definitely was strategic, but you're right in that it didn't feel strategic in the sense that it looks like the whole thing played out so naturally. It was just very clever racing and really good teamwork as well. There was no, it could have got a bit dirty between the two of them towards the end, because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to win around Monaco? Yeah. But I think Nick Cassidy was a great sport. It was really one of those kind of putting the team first kind of moments, and realizing that a 1-2 is so much better than whatever the alternative could have been had they, started to race towards the end. And it was just so nice to see Mitch Evans win as well, getting so close to the top step of the podium and so many times and just falling short. And then to see it all come together for him was just really fun to watch. And for it to be a team victory as well was just great.
Yeah, 100%. Before I hand over to you, Pico, to ask any questions, I want to talk about Nick Cassidy, actually, because you've seen Nick Cassidy and you've seen his demeanour in the media pen, and he's a top guy, but he's one of the tougher ones to interview. But are you surprised by his whole demeanour and him wanting to win and being the best, and he's moved himself from Envision to Jaguar to fight for this championship even stronger, that he is that this kind of a team player that I don't think if you looked at Nick and you spoke to Nick you'd get that team player vibe, but he seems to be a massive team player. Does that shock you at all?
It does and it doesn't, because I just think, yeah, like you said, he's just such a top kind of all-round guy. But I think he's so happy at Jaguar. His demeanor in the paddock, he just looks very at home with the team. Um, and I think he's someone that's willing to help his teammates up because, it's a mutual respect kind of thing. And I think he knows that he's going to get that same sort of help and assistance when he needs it from his teammate. But I was surprised by just how genuinely happy he seemed for Mitch. In the press conference, he sort of just straight up was like, "This is Mitch's day today," and he just looked really, really happy for his friend and teammate. And I think that was just so nice to see because, I think no one would begrudge Nick if there was a little bit of not resentment, but just disappointment at not winning the race. But he was just really happy for Mitch. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to get those, what was it, brownie points before the end of the season, before when Mitch needs to do him a favour to win the championship, maybe. So
exactly.
Getting those brownie points in early. Pico, have you got any questions for Jasmine?
Well, I'm going to steer away from the actual race because I know that you said that it was like your first time in Monaco. So
yeah,
from everything that you've seen of Monaco on the TV and everything like that, what was it like in person?
Oh my God. It was just amazing. I think if you like motorsports and cars to any degree, you just need to go because I was saying to Jack when we were walking around, I was like, I literally feel like a kid in a candy store. This is just ridiculous. Everywhere you look, there is something to be excited about. And we were just sat on the side of the road having a drink, and you had Ferraris going past you and all these beautiful like old Porsches and stuff. And like I just was just basically geeking out for 48 hours straight. We went to the Prince's car collection, and I'm a huge Charles Leclerc fan, so I was very excited to see his cars. I think I took about 1 million pictures with them. But it was just great, and it's got such an atmosphere. You really kind of can't put it into words. It's just so different from anywhere I've been. But there are just so many moments you're walking around, you're like, no way, I'm in the tunnel, and I'm at, the hairpin. Is just crazy, and it's just so many like pinch me moments that I absolutely loved it. I'm already like counting down the days to going back now.
Who knows how many days it is to go back because the calendar's not even been released, but fingers crossed. I can't wait to go back. Monaco, if you've never been to Monaco, anyone in chat, I know some of you went to the event this year, but if you haven't managed to get to Monaco, tickets were only €30. It's not the most, it's fairly cheap to get to flight wise. There's tons of flights to Nice, so if it's one you want to get off your bucket list and you don't want to go for a Formula One event, go for a cheaper event like Formula E. I think all three of us who have been now would highly recommend it.
I'd have to say I'm so surprised by how doable it is actually, because I think Monaco has this feeling. I don't know, when you see it on TV and you think about all the people that live there and the amount of wealth there, you think of it as this very kind of just is on a pedestal. It's somewhere quite hard to reach, but it's so easy to get to from Nice, and it's one of the cheaper places I've actually traveled to. Obviously, it's got very expensive areas, but it's actually doable, on a kind of a bit of a budget, and it's great to just look around and stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
I was gonna say last 2 seasons Monaco's been my cheapest race by far.
Yeah.
Even though London exists, I'm spending more on a hotel in London than I am than just flying over to Nice,
and a hotel,
staying in Nice, getting the train in each morning. It's cheaper than going to London and staying in London for
and
it's crazy.
It's worth it for the train ride alone. The train ride is just absolutely beautiful. It's much better than any old train ride to Euston.
Maybe on the Saturday morning. But did you go on the? No. We went there on the Friday.
No,
you
went there Friday.
Oh, you missed it.
We missed the rain, so we did a good job.
No. It's not because of the rain. It's because you get on that train,
and it's packed.
And it is like 5 p.m. on the tube.
Yeah.
It is
awful. Commuter train.
Yep.
It is awful.
No.
But anyway, bringing it back to Formula E slightly. Formula E. Pascal Wehrlein, right? So, really interesting. Took pole, but obviously fell back, and it was really interesting. We spoke to him on the F. My cat has just jumped up on me, and it's really like, thanks, cat. If you go on the YouTube channel, he kind of said, leading the race, even around here, is a penalty, and that's why he took attack mode. They decided to take attack mode on lap 3. But basically that meant he fell behind both DSs and both Jaguars, and because Jaguars controlled the race from there, all that work to get pole position, and it was just down the drain in an effect.
Yeah, it's kind of it's slightly frustrating as well, because you sometimes get races where someone's on pole position, you go, well, does this really mean anything? Yeah. And I think it's both a blessing and a curse, because it's nice to know that anyone can win, and it's not like Formula One going around Monaco where pretty much the qualifying order is more or less where people are going to finish, say for any catastrophic pit stops or something like that. But I think it would be nice for the drivers as well to know that if they're getting pole position, this really definitely means something, and it's not sort of damn, I'm leading the race and this is actually going to be really bad for me in the long run. And I think it's something that's playing into this peloton style of racing where people are sort of playing like hot potato with the lead, because they know it's actually bad for them to be leading. So yeah, but it was a shame for Pascal, definitely. I think the race didn't end as terribly for him as it could have. I think he finished P5, so still in the points, but nowhere near the podium, which is not what he would have been hoping going into the weekend.
It's by far and away nowhere near his worst Monaco result.
Yeah.
There was the one in season 8 where he retired from the lead. Everything shut off whilst coming down the hill.
Yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah. The cat came up. She came up, and
yeah.
there you go. Nothing you can do. Live radio
That's the
/
delay,
TV.
Everyone. That's the delay from me watching it to this. There you go.
She's gone down now. She'll probably come back up at some point. She opened the door by herself. I'm like, oh, the door's shut. Like,
well, yeah, no, my door.
Boom.
My door. It's out of shot on the feed, but I know that you guys.
But I saw on chat you wanted to see the cat. So
yes, no, I wanted to see the cat. Obviously,
cat has been seen. So there you go. Cat has
the
been
real
seen.
Special guest.
The real special guest. The real special guest.
Oh, 100%.
100. Oh yeah. What was I going to say? Gen 3.5 or Gen 3 Evo. Do you think that's something? Because I asked Pascal this, and he was like, I don't know. But if you were Formula E, I don't know. I suppose if you were driving, you were asking the question about making qualifying important. Surely the Gen 3 Evo cars got to sort of stop this problem of, because you can't be penalised in a motorsport race for being in the lead of the race. Surely.
Yeah, I think it's something that hopefully will get ironed out. I think it's something that hopefully they've kind of focused on, because like you say, it is that sort of the sense of being penalised for, qualifying on pole position. No driver wants that. Whether that's, actually going to be something that with the Gen 3 Evo, whether that's going to be something that it does change or not, I guess remains to be seen. That's a bit of a cop-out answer from me, I'm afraid. But just hopefully, because it is a bit annoying kind of going into a race being like, oh, they might not even finish in the top 3, like Pascal, you might finish top 5. I think it's nice to have a bit of variation, and it is nice to know that pole position isn't, this isn't the winner. This isn't set in stone. This is how the race is going to finish. But I think just the sense of kind of some continuity at least.
100%. And then before we let you go, who impressed you, the most, I suppose, from the weekend?
Oh, I think easy answer, Taylor Barnard. Just absolutely stellar from him. I mean, it just the mental fortitude to hop into a car with literally 20 minutes notice, I think he had before free practice too. And he's only 19 as well. He's just absolutely ridiculous. And
baby.
I also think he's a baby, bless him. He's lovely. And I think it's worth remembering as well that Formula E is such a different style of racing to anything that these young drivers are used to, because they grew up with their karting and then they're in their single-seaters. So he's doing Formula 2 at the moment. And that's just such a leap to go from Formula 2 style of racing to Formula E styles of racing. It's there's so much more to think about. There's so much, even the cars are just so different, all of that. And so I think he did a really, really good job. And Monaco's not an easy circuit as well to just sort of hop into the car and just start driving around. That's a pretty tough one. So I think he just did absolutely brilliantly. And it's definitely a shame about Sandberg, but it will be exciting, possibly, if Taylor's at Berlin, just to see what he can do again.
Yeah, the thing is with Taylor, when Taylor was announced, I was like, this boy's going to come in. Because we were there, all three of us, in testing, and he was seventh fastest. He was the seventh fastest driver. And, you know, he was one of the quickest drivers in the rookie test as well. And I really thought he was going to come in and hit the ground running and like out qualify like experienced people in Formula E, which didn't turn out to be the case. But then I suppose just to end,
half an hour of running.
Yeah,
Jack.
I know, but he's not. but he's not had half an hour of running. He's had testing. He's had the rookie test. He's quite experienced, right? Yes, he's had half an hour of running, but that's half an hour running more than Jehan Deruvala, for example, right? So at Monaco, you could argue. So I'm not saying I expected more from him because I think that's unfair. But my expectations are this he could be the next Max Verstappen of Formula E. Who knows? Because he was so quick, and he's been so quick in testing and the little bits that he's shown. I've been mainly what I'm saying is I've been super impressed. Pico's looking at me like I'm some sort of idiot.
I'm just wondering who the first Max Verstappen of Formula E was.
I don't know. I don't know. But you get my point. But basically, I've been super impressed. Every time I've watched Taylor Barnard be in a Formula E car, I've been super impressed. And I thought,
same.
And I thought, I'm thinking Sasha Fennisher, as I'm thinking Jake Hughes, when they came in their opening season and they hit the ground running, I thought he might be able to do that and really show off his talents. If he gets a chance in Berlin, I think it's massive. We'll play the Taylor Barnard interview very soon because I know a lot of you want to hear it. But Jasmine, thank you so much for coming on at such short notice to replace the wonderful Nick. And
thank you very much for having me. I'm not replacing him. I'm not replacing him. I will definitely come back. Maybe we'll have a joint feature.
Yeah,
I'll come and accompany Nick one day. But no, thank you very much for having me. It's been lovely to talk to you both.
And you go and get some rest, and
I will.
We'll see you soon.
Right? Yeah. See you soon.
Perfect. Well, the calls at the moment, there's so many people. So what I wanted to do, I definitely want to show. We will talk about Taylor Barnard. So why not? We'll pick the next caller to come in, and we will hear from Taylor Barnard. Probably not what you were expecting this morning when you woke up, but how did you find your first ever Formula E race?
As expected, it was very crazy. I've obviously been a reserve driver for a couple of rounds, and I've watched some of the racing, especially in Misano, so it was expected to be chaos, but obviously just sitting in the car is a different story, and I'm quite happy to bring the car home in one piece and in P14, which is, I think, respectable for my first race.
Yeah, how did you keep your wits about you? Because obviously in the mid-pack there, everyone's diving, especially down at Rascasse, there was lots of dives, lots of moves. How did you keep the car together?
Honestly, it's just being aware. Like, you have to be very aware here, especially with the moves that people are making. That was the key for me to just stay alive in this race and keep the car in one piece. I think my pace was not as good as I'd like, but I think it was expected in my first race. So yeah, obviously, like we said, the key was to just keep the car in one piece.
And obviously, Sam, we don't know obviously the situation, so there is a possibility that you could be racing obviously in the doubleheader in Berlin. What do you think was your main learning thing that you learned during the 31 laps of racing today that you could take away and try and build upon into Berlin?
I think there's not one specific thing. I think experiencing everything from free practice, quali and race, the jump between the quali and race as well, I think there's many things that I can take away, not just one specific thing. So the whole experience was good, and yeah, like you said, if I do have to jump in again, then I think I'm ready.
Okay, good, best of luck. Thank you very much. The music kind of carries on, but anyway, we're back. So what I think we're going to do, I know you've texted me a name, but I'm actually going to overrule the name because we do have a new caller that I would like to hear from. But what I really thought that was interesting from Taylor Barnard there is that he kind of said that he still wasn't happy with his pace. Like, he thought he could have done better, and that's what I like about Taylor from chatting to him. Like, he's like he wasn't satisfied, right? He's like, yeah, it was okay, I could have maybe done a little bit better. But we've got one who is a DS fan, and I suppose considering that Nick, are you there? Pico.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
I'm messaging Ed saying that you're overruling him.
I'm overruling him. I would like to hear from one actually. So if we can get one,
right,
that would be awesome. I'd like to hear one, and then we can go.
Don't worry, I am here.
I couldn't hear you for a second, and I was like,
no. It's because I wasn't talking.
Yeah.
It's because I wasn't talking,
but
mate.
Yeah.
Right,
Super
we're going to
impressive,
bring
Taylor.
Juan in. Hopefully, Ed has said that Juan is coming in.
Juan, hello, welcome to the FE bar. How are you? Oh, this is the disaster when you go against the grain.
Hi.
Hello, Juan. Welcome to the FE bar. How are you?
All right, I guess.
All right, I guess. Where are you calling
Bit busy,
from?
but-
Where are you in the world?
Belgium.
In Belgium. So it says
Just
there.
across the pond from Ralph.
Okay, nice. It says that you're a DS fan, right? So what have you made of DS?
Well, I mean, obviously they were really good, and then Gen 3 kind of hit hard. I don't know. It's weird where, oh yeah, it's hard to know whether it was on the driver's side or the car side or the powertrain side or all of it a little.
Mm-hmm.
But the transition to Gen 3 seems to knock them off their game a little.
Yep.
And also, especially Stoffel, you can see him struggling a lot every time it's a peloton style race.
Yep.
Like the first Brazil Eprix
Mm-hmm.
or Sao Paulo last year, he qualified well. He was leading for a lot of it, but then it turned out that was the absolute opposite, wrong approach, and he had no energy anymore for the second half of the race.
Yeah, it's been because obviously when Stoffel signed, right, and we thought with Jev that these two would be like a dream team, right? But and maybe they could still be a dream team, but I suppose slightly disappointing. But if we look at the Phil Charles signing, right, do you think that will going forward for DS will that play a role? Do you think that would be really important to sort of bring them back to winning ways from next season?
I mean, I hope it does, but if it does, it's definitely gonna be like a slow thing over a little. Maybe we see them be really strong in Gen 4. Maybe we see them make some really good progress on Gen 3 Evo.
Yeah.
But what's already quite noticeable, especially this season, with just a really shaky start to the season for literally everyone almost. Like everyone's less consistent, it feels like.
Yep. So
And you can really notice between like Roland and then Gunther and then now DS, the quote unquote B tier powertrains, the Nissan, the Stellantis.
Yep.
They seem to be really, really closing the gap towards the Jaguars and the Porsches up front, which is
100%.
Which also is very promising for next seasons with the Gen 3.5 because either of those powertrains just works with the four-wheel drive maybe, or one of those teams just finds some good stuff with the setup, or driver hits the spot or something.
Yep.
That's
so would you
definitely
say
gonna be.
so from just listening from what you're saying? So would you say that you've been disappointed with Jev and Van Dorn? And do you think they could have performed better?
It's hard to say. As like this race, Monaco obviously was amazing.
Yep.
But everything up to now has been ups and downs. When DS was strong, they were strong, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But just I don't know, a lot of inconsistencies. A lot of times they just did something dumb. The Portland scenario with the scanners in the pit lane. That was just
someone
weird.
said, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Nikki or Natalie. I can't remember. Pico, you might want to help me. But Jean-Eric Verne, maybe you can bring this in terms of Jean-Eric Verne. They said he was kind of going past it. But I think like Jean-Eric Verne's had a good season this year. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Pico. Like, you know, he's done all right in the peloton styles, and he's been there or thereabouts. It's just for whatever reason, potentially with the DS powertrain, it hasn't worked out.
I think it's been very similar to last season, where like there's been flashes of brilliance, and it hasn't really like been where because if we remember back to the start of season 9, I said Jev was going to be a 3-time champion, and that DS Penske were going to walk the championship, and it just hasn't been the case. And yeah, there's the whole, like we mentioned earlier, you can take all the goods to Penske, but you can't take the dragon out of the Penske.
Yeah.
But so Yes, we have these like high expectations from DS because they've been such a successful manufacturer in Formula E, but yeah, I think this year's very similar to what last year was.
Yeah,
It just feels like not like the good isn't there, but more so they cannot get it right consistently. That's really what it feels like.
100%. So going back to the earlier point of Jean-Eric Verne being past it, do you think that's true? Do you think that's a fair statement? What's your response to that?
He might be past his prime. He might. We see people in Formula One racing a lot older and older. Might be similar in Formula E. So the cars are very physical. So that's harder to tell. Probably at some point it's just gonna be too much if you get really old. But I don't know. He still has his regular brilliant drives.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. So if you're thinking, right, that Jev may be past it, and if you're thinking of replacing Jean-Eric Verne or Stoffel Van Dorn, who would you have at DS as a Formula E driver?
That's really, really hard to tell. There's not. I mean,
Max
the
from
pairing
Maserati.
of like maybe yeah, but Max and Maserati and DS don't really have the same customer and factory relationship as say Jag and Envision. I feel might be wrong there.
Interesting.
So, like,
it's an interesting opinion.
Yeah, and then it's not as explicit with differently badged powertrains and all that, but either way, I think Jeff might be past his prime, but I would not say he's past being good. Anything but that.
100%. No, I'd agree. Thank you so much for coming on. And being a first-time caller, it's amazing to have you on. Please do come back again because I'm happy to talk DS. Big team, and obviously tomorrow we got Mark Preston, DS Tech Cheetah team principal, former. So if you want to ask him any questions about his time working with the team, would be really good to maybe hear from you again tomorrow.
I hope I can be here then.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, really, it's really interesting, right? The discussion. People saying Verne's past it, which is, I don't know. That's shocking me. I suppose, Pico. I'm a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it just yet. I think that we will see at the end of Gen 3 Evo that there will be a few people who will, a few of the old guard that will leave. I think Jev will stick around for one more iteration. But yeah, I don't think Jev is completely past it yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether DS need a change of team?
I don't think so.
But yeah, we'll see.
But definitely very interesting. If again, I just we've got still a couple of callers to try and get through tonight. But if you want to have your say on the Monaco Eprix or want to talk anything Formula E, then please do make sure to hit ! Discord in chat. The Discord link will bring you into our Discord, and then if you join the waiting room, you can have your say on the event. What we're going to do now before we get because I've got so many interviews to get through, we've got Stoffel Van Dorn. As we'll talk about DS, we'll hear from what Stoffel Van Dorn had, and then we'll go to Saz, good old lovely Saz, after we hear from Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah, it feels good. Although I'm almost a little bit disappointed because I think we had a strong car today. We qualified very well. We really managed the first part of the race very good. Letting Pascal go take attack mode, take the lead, and actually take control of the race before taking my first attack mode, still being in the lead. With with both Jaguars behind, still having to take both of them. So I think that was a very good stage of the race. Then where I feel like we lost the race is when I took the second one. We nearly pulled it off to slot in between both Jaguars. I think if we would have managed that, it would have been a different race today, and we might have had a real chance at winning it. But having both of them in front of us, then that's where all the games started to play out, and where the gaps got created, and they could just take their attack modes for free basically.
It was one of those rare occurrences where I can't remember how many times I've actually seen it in Formula E, where the top almost 8 was team. The 4 strongest powertrains maybe, all represented by both their drivers, Jev included. What were the discussions happening at the end of the race about your position with Jev?
Well, Jeff had a similar issue than than both Mitch and Nick. He still had to take an attack mode, so I kind of gave him the position, made sure he had enough of a gap to take it, and I managed to slot in back in front with him on the second attack mode. So once that all plays out, then the race from there was pretty pretty settled, pretty straightforward. Just driving laps.
So there we go. Really interesting there for Stoffel. I do think that they could have won that race if they managed that second attack mode. And you see it in the highlights where Van Dorn takes it and Cassidy just pips him down into Mirabeau. If Van Dorn stays ahead there, anything could have happened. He could have been fighting for that win.
Yeah, I mean, ifs, buts, and maybes though. I think it's. For Stoff, honestly, I'm super happy for him that he's been able to get on the podium. It's been a long time coming, as that for Stoff. But and it was mentioned the Noah's Ark formation there as well. But yeah, I think that DS, it's really solid weekend for them because we haven't seen both of them up there for a while. So yeah, no, really strong weekend for them.
Should we get Saz in then? Should we get Saz?
Yeah. Right, let's get Saz in.
Saz!
Hello!
Hello, welcome to the FE Bar. I love it when you're on.
You.
We need to get like a nickname for Saz because she's so happy. But we need it.
Saz not a nickname enough.
No, I like
No,
Saz.
I want another nickname.
No, but Super Saz. I don't know. Super Saz. I like Super Saz. But anyway.
It's a good start.
No,
I'm sure the chat can come up with some excellent suggestions as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Right, Monaco Eprix then. What were your thoughts on it?
I really liked it. I thought it was like the perfect blend of strategy, overtaking, chaos. It's like a really good, after Misano, it was just like a really good Formula E race that kind of like, okay, Misano was a bit too much with the peloton, but Monaco, it was the, I'm going to say, do you say, I forgot my English.
A normal race? A normal race?
Yeah, a normal race. Sorry, I totally forgot the words. A normal, exciting Formula E race that we all love.
Yeah, are you worried though? Are you worried, because obviously you mentioned the peloton style of racing there. And are you worried that we could see 3 double headers of peloton style races between now and the end of Portland?
Yes. And it's such a shame. I think it was Nikki and you guys saying earlier that the drivers don't like it. A lot of the fans don't like it. I mean, it will very much depend on the circuit, and attack mode is in turn 2 in Berlin, which could add to more chaos. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about that.
Yeah,
I need to look at the layout of the new Berlin one because I haven't had I've looked at it on occasion. That's about it.
So refreshing. I was going to throw to you to see if you had any questions for our wonderful Super Saz. But so who impressed you, like in terms of Monaco? Like who impressed you the most?
Well, obviously the Jaguars and Taylor Barnard, but also Norman Nato and the Nissan guys. Like, we haven't spoken about them yet.
Yeah, let's talk about Norman, right? Because I interviewed Norman, so you can hear again if you go to the Formula Rezone YouTube page. There is a good interview there with Norman Nato. I haven't got it on for the show, unfortunately, but he is definitely worth a mention. Brilliant front wing damage, lap 2. Out of the points, and he fights his way to finishing 10th. Like, it was a brilliant race from Norman.
Yeah, he did so well to recover. Like, once he got that damaged and was in P20, it was like, oh, it's over. And then it was like, oh, it is not over.
Yeah, I suppose the safety cars helped, of course, right?
Yeah, they definitely helped, but you take what you can get. If it's a safety car, it helped it, but anybody who's behind is gonna take advantage of a safety car.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, right? So we can talk about Andretti as a whole because their qualifying is still nowhere. And, even talking to Dennis, and maybe we can hear from Dennis in a moment because I do have a Dennis interview, that, they're so puzzled. They don't have a Scooby-Doo of why they are so bad at qualifying. Does that shock you? Considering how they started the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, they can. I totally agree. If I knew why they were so bad at qualifying, well, I'd be selling the answer to Andretti for lots of money.
Yes.
Jake Dennis at least is very good at coming back through the pack. He's had a lot of podiums, but it just makes no sense. Like last year, they were good, and this year they're not even getting to the duels.
Yeah, but they started the season, right? If you think back to Diriyah race 1, it was the Jake Dennis show, right? And then they get it wrong.
One day later, the worst car he'd ever driven.
It's the worst car he's ever driven, and it's still the worst car probably he's ever driven. It's just nuts.
It just makes especially in Diriyah. It's like, how have you just deleted the setup overnight or something? It may, I don't know if it's track conditions or what.
It's like someone's purged all the files in the computer. It's like, yep, you are no longer good. Like someone from Porsche is like, right, we better stop them from winning. We want to win this year, and has gone and purged some important files because it is puzzling. And the fact that, as a race team, it's gone on for so long. I think that's the most surprising thing because these engineers, right, these are smart people. Like they can try and fix a problem. Even if we look at ERT and so forth, and Mahindra, they've made progress. So for Andretti to go backwards is a crazy one.
Yeah, it's weird because it's they've got two good drivers, Jake Dennis especially, but you don't even expect them. It's got to a stage where I'm looking at my predictor and I'm like, don't even put the Andrettis in most of the time because they just have, I don't know if it's not one lap pace, but then again Jake Dennis and Diriyah, they've got podiums. They've obviously got race pace, just not. I don't know why they haven't got the quali pace.
Yeah, there were, I think Pico, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was Jake Dennis talking about the brakes and so forth, and not being able to get the best out of the brakes in some of those racetracks.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
I'll be honest. I've forgotten.
I'm pretty sure Jake Dennis said that they were struggling with the brakes. I suppose. Anything else that you want to add, Saz? About the Monaco Eprix that we haven't asked you.
Yeah, the Nissan, both the Nissans coming back through the pack. It was nice to see Sasha in the points.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's about time, Sasha. Welcome back. Please continue it.
Yeah, he was.
Ollie also did an excellent recovery drive, but we know how good Ollie's is.
Yeah. Sasha seemed to be much happier in the paddock. I did notice. I didn't get a chance. I did want to speak to him, but the media pen was like a rugby scrum. Earlier when I was doing it, it was so packed and tight. Yeah, I know, but Monaco seemed to be much more of a rugby
Monaco feels a lot. From memory.
For those of you who don't know, so basically, we get the drivers. I was having this discussion Saturday night actually, where we were like, "Oh my god!" It was a mayhem. But basically, in the fan village, you could have got really close to the drivers, but you would have had my head in the way first because it would have been fans, media, then the drivers around Monaco. But it was just a scrum, so just trying to. But I really wanted to speak to Sasha because he hasn't been his greatest season, and he promised so much in that first season. So I suppose that Monaco was a good track for him last season. He was fighting for that pole position with Jake Hughes, and so to go back to Monaco and put on a good performance, that's got to give him some confidence towards the end of the season, hopefully, right?
Yeah, I really hope so, because like I said, he was good in Monaco last year and he showed so much potential, but he's just been a bit anonymous this season, and hopefully it will be the confidence boost that he needs to show his potential and get more points, get into the duels. all that.
Okay, perfect. Right, Saz, it's been an absolute joy to have you back on. We're going to love and leave you for now because we're going to take a quick break before we wrap up the last couple of callers for the end of the show. But amazing. And if you're around tomorrow to ask Mark Preston any questions, we'll definitely get you on.
Okay, it's awesome. See you guys
Perfect.
soon.
We'll see you guys soon, hopefully tomorrow. Right.
Enjoy your break.
Yeah, we will. We're gonna have a quick 3-minute break. Come back. We've got 2 more callers to get through tonight. We've got Tobias from E4MLDE who wants to come on, so we're gonna get him on next after the break. So what we're gonna do we're gonna go into the break, but first we're going to listen to Pascal Wehrlein and his thoughts on the race in Monaco. Lap 3, obviously pole position great, but you took the attack mode on lap 3. Was that in theory then the wrong way to go? Was it too early to take attack mode at that point?
The thing is, if you're leading the race, you're losing quite a bit of energy, especially in the beginning when you have to do so much saving. So, I think in the end it was unfortunate that there were both Jaguars passing us and then also both the S cars, and they could just all 4 cars in front of us could play the game together and defend their teammates and defend together actually in some corners. So you couldn't pass on the inside and not on the outside. The main thing is opening up the gaps to take attack mode. As here, taking attack mode, you lose almost 2 seconds. And for them, they didn't lose any position taking attack mode. And that's it.
And then Gen 3.5, very quickly, do you think, because pole position is a problem at the moment, you're losing so much energy, do you think Gen 3.5 will change that?
I don't know, let's see.
Fingers crossed then. we are back for the final 14 minutes of the show. So, I think it's Tobias from eFormLD that is next to get into. Tobias, how are you? Welcome back to the FE bar.
Yeah, good evening, guys.
Good evening. I was expecting to see you.
He said in the last one.
Forgot.
In Monaco.
I forgot. I was like, I did see. I've forgotten her name. I didn't really get a chance to say hello.
Teresa.
Teresa was there. Yeah, she was there. I saw her in the media pen. I was like, oh, there's someone from eFormLD. I didn't get a chance to massively say hi, but so I hope she's okay. And she enjoyed Monaco. But yeah, Monaco, mate. How was it for you?
Quite a lot to do, I think. We had all the sessions in one day, and an FP1, the Sunbird thing, and Taylor Bernard stepping in. It was a lot to do for us, and yeah. What to say? I had a coffee at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And the next coffee I had after 12.
Oh, the morning seems quite slow. I remember we were in the media center because obviously we woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, got the 6:40 train which got us into Monaco at 7:10, and then, you know, unless you wanted to get the 5:44 train, which no one wanted to get the 5:44 train.
I did first year.
I did first year. No one wanted to get the 5:44 into Monaco, but yeah, it was a mad day. Like who? Let's talk Porsche actually, because obviously, and maybe the Germans in terms of Muller and so forth, and Gunther. We'll start with Verline because obviously
Müller's from Switzerland.
Wow, sorry, I keep doing this. He looks the most German person, and I keep mixing him up. But anyway, I feel like he's an adopted German because he drives for Audi. But anyway,
okay.
He drives for Abt.
No. But he's like an Audi, like.
He drove for Audi in the past already, in DTM also.
Yeah, so he's kind of like, I see him as this de facto German, and it's not true.
yes, he drove in GTM, you know,
Yes.
with Audi is the German manufacturer.
Yeah.
No other German manufacturer's ever been in been in DTM. No.
But anyway, he drives an app, so it counts. So there we go. We'll segue that in. But let's start with Verline, because obviously I know we talked about Verline earlier, but like from a Porsche point of view, was that the only strategy you think they could have done by getting that attack mode, or should he try to build a gap, do you think, and to try and stay out in front?
Difficult. The past has shown us that it's not the right way to stay in front, especially at the beginning of the race. And yeah, I think he did the thing that was the only thing he could do in this situation, but then he just had bad luck because the two Jaguars were in front, the two DS were behind, and yeah, he was alone during the most of the race. Unfortunately, Antonio had a good qualifying, but then I don't know how much bad luck can one person have in his life. He was stuck behind Buemi after Buemi was hit by, I think it was Sergio Sette Camara in the hairpin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was in P19 instead of in P8. And so he was not able to help Pascal, and I have to say the Jaguar drivers, they performed it perfectly. Yeah. And the DS drivers, they saw what the Jaguar drivers did, and they copied the thing and made it already good. But Pascal was alone and
couldn't get through basically. Which
was... I think his pace was better than P5, but unfortunately there was no way around the cars in front. Yeah, of course, overtaking in Monaco is possible, but if you execute the strategy that perfectly as the Jaguar and DS guys did, it's not that easy. And especially in the end, when there was no energy saving, it's not possible to gain the position.
Because there was loads, like I could see into Raskas, like so many drivers just making a desperate lunge, and obviously that's where. If we talk about Muller, that's where obviously he came a cropper. Jake Hughes was angry that he got a penalty for that. Like, what did you make? Do you think the penalty was just? Because Hughes was like, basically, it was a racing incident, but he's ended up in the wall. He's out of the race. I've carried on. Therefore, easy to give me the penalty. But really and truly, like, it was a racing incident. Like, what was your points on that? Because that's what Jake Hughes basically said.
Yeah, it's difficult, but if you take a look at the first crash of Jake Hughes, he crashed just into the back of Sergio Sette Camara in the hairpin just when the safety car came out, and that was 100% his fault. The Müller thing, I think, you can see it as a race incident, but then he has to get a penalty for the Sette Camara crash, I think. I think he is not in a position after this race to blame the stewards.
That's what
unfortunately. But I think it was his fault, especially the crash with Sette Camara.
What did I don't know if
it's easy to blame the stewards after, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if Teresa spoke to Muller. Do we know what Muller's response was? I don't know if she managed to speak. Did you guys get that?
I just got a quote from the press release, and he said that he could nothing to avoid this crash. He was just steering into Rascasse, and then he got hit from the inside from the back and was pushed into the wall.
So nothing that he felt he could do to avoid it, unfortunately for him. But yeah, that was interesting. I suppose looking now towards the rest of the season, like, are you expecting the next 3 races, Berlin? Obviously, it was interesting. I spoke to a couple of drivers about the track in Berlin, and they still don't know. They haven't really, because it's a new track. They're like, well, we actually haven't done much testing or simulating. That kind of starts next week. So then we'll have we'll have that understanding. Are you expecting it to be a peloton style race, or do you think the track layouts will lend towards a smoother type race that we saw in Monaco?
I don't think we will see a peloton race. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the track layout for Berlin has been changed last week.
Yep, it has been changed. Yep.
What, last week?
Yeah,
last week. Yes.
Again.
They changed it again. Yep, 100%. Yep, they did do that.
Yeah, and
I saw the one that they released in November.
Yeah, but this has been already changed. I'll do a tweet later on about it. And now the straights are quite a bit shorter, so I think we will not see that peloton style racing. Peloton style racing again there. Portland, of course, and I think Shanghai also, but Berlin, I think, will not be that peloton style racing again.
Good, I'll be glad, to be honest with you. I'll be glad being in Berlin, so hopefully I'll get to see you in 2 weeks' time, which will be great.
I hope so. I'll be there from Thursday to Monday.
Thursday to Monday, yeah. I will be there Saturday, Sunday. I won't be there Friday, but I'll be there for both races, so you won't see me Friday. I'll be flying Friday night into Brandenburg, but I will be there Saturday, Sunday, but I'll have a sharpest exit after, because my flight back to London is at 9 p.m, so I've got...
you have to leave quite early after the race.
So, yeah, basically once the media pens done, once everything's uploaded, it should be about 5:30, hopefully by then. And then...
I hope so, yeah.
And then, fingers crossed, no statement, no red flags.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, and then straight to the airport for me, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you're also a primary school teacher and you need to be back on Monday morning to take the register. So, it is what it is. But, I suppose looking forward to Berlin then, right? It must be big for you guys at eFormula D. That, it's a big event now, and it's a staple in the calendar. Like Zach Brown said in the interview, in the press conference that we had on Saturday, that calendar stability was kind of important for Formula E, and we need to have more calendar stability, more cities to be quite stable on the calendar. And I suppose Berlin is because we might lose London, so Berlin is one of the most stable cities on the calendar now, and that's pretty cool on a German.
The only one that's done all.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you think Formula 1, you've lost Nürburgring, you've lost Hockenheimring. So to still have motorsport in Germany, I think is huge.
Yeah, for single-seater racing, it is huge, absolutely. I hope it will stay on the calendar. I hope there will some cities also stay on the calendar. I heard or read about a calendar for next year, and I was wondering because Tokyo was missing there. Don't know if it will be the
I'm sure it'll be on the
case.
calendar.
Yeah,
Talking to Jeff Dodds last week, I'm sure Tokyo will be on the calendar.
Yeah.
If it's not, then there's some big
Probably.
questions. Big questions if he comes back on the show, towards the end of the season, because that will be a bit of a gobsmack of what happened there, because they've worked tirelessly to get Tokyo on the track. And he said, like, even though if the cars get faster, there is room to adapt the track to try and make the altercations for that. So,
I hope so.
So fingers crossed it is on there. But yeah, obviously the draft calendar is due to be handed in next month, and we're only a couple of days away from next month.
Beginning of June.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, he said May, June, isn't it? So by next month, the draft will be ready to send in, and then obviously the World Motorsport Council hears it in June.
Yes, absolutely.
So perfect. Right, Tobias, it's absolutely brilliant to have you on. I cannot wait to see you in Berlin. Definitely come on the show for the Berlin one when we'll debrief after the rookie test. And then you can tell me all about the rookie test and what happened, because I will have not a Scooby-Doo.
Actually, that's a point, Jack. Like, he's there until after the rookie test. Toby, are you going to get back in time?
I don't think so. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can dial in on your phone. Just speak on your phone.
Yeah.
Just come in.
Yeah.
Come on. Give us the juice.
I will try. Yeah, but I have to say,
if you can't, you can't. But if you can, you can. It'd be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I have to take the train home, and from Berlin to my hometown near Cologne, it's about 6 hours. Yeah. So I have to take a look. I'm leaving on Tuesday morning, so I have to wait and see how much to do is on Monday.
Phone us in the airport. Not the airport, in your hotel room.
The airport where the train's
airport, yeah.
Look, we've got 2 minutes. I've done well. I'm tired. It's been a mad day, but Tobias, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. Right, last caller. Let's get him in last minute before we wrap up the show. Let's get Mr. Christopher Wharton. And Mr. Christopher Wharton, welcome back to the FE Bar. You get to see us out today. What did you make of the Monaco Eprix?
What can I remember from it?
You've been in the chat.
This has been me for the last 2 hours. I didn't watch it live. I can't remember it.
I watched it live, but it was a bit boring.
Did you think? Okay, because I saw it in chat. I think it was Simon. I think his name was. I saw in chat. I don't know if I remember, but he said
I will say
disappointed.
I will say the obviously Formula E absolutely love taking the piss out of F1 and saying, "Oh, we can overtake so many times. Look at this."
Yeah.
And there were more overtakes this year than last year. But it certainly didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it, and I think it's because it wasn't at the front of the track, right? And do you think, because what I was alluding to what Simon said earlier, he said that he was a little bit disappointed with the way, for the race, the way Jaguar, obviously they don't care because they came first and second, but it did feel anticlimactic. Like when I wrote my race report, it was like, we know how this race was won, so it was quite easy. So I get your boring point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I got annoyed with the Formula E. Oh, there's 100 odd overtakes. I can remember 2 overtakes.
Yes.
Actually, no, I can't remember 2 overtakes. That's a lie. But
the thing is, they'll classify when
the attack mode.
No, Buemi and Da Costa went in the wall. Like, oh, look at all these overtakes.
I forgot.
Yeah,
that's just stupid. That's they shouldn't be allowed to do that.
No.
Like.
Yeah, I know, but unfortunately,
nothing annoys me more than Formula E doing that.
All the attack mode attacks are when they take attack mode and they drop down a couple of positions and then they gain them back. They all count as overtakes too, which is it inflates the numbers. But then, as I said, what I found quite interesting is that where's the
How do you think they calculate that? Have they just got someone at home with a little ticker?
Maybe. But what I find interesting,
each millisecond,
and maybe you could talk about this, Chris, is that where's the Misano one?
Probably because it was too many to say.
Exactly.
We were told by Lucas that there was 575 overtakes.
That's been rounded up, hasn't it? Because it's made it a nice round number to 5, I suppose.
Yes, that nice round number, 575.
It is all nice. Counting 5s is quite nice. I find that quite nice. I
Oh,
feel like
so it's been rounded up from 573. huge difference.
Maybe, but
like
it's just a nice number. Like it's not like 562 or something like that. Like it's just a random number. Like, but
What's wrong with 562?
nothing wrong with 500. Nothing's wrong with 562. But what I'm saying is that they advertised the Monaco one because obviously you can't overtake at Monaco. Look here, we did it, and we had more this year than we did last year. But it kind of shows that where Formula E might be thinking with maybe these circuit and peloton style races, because if you're getting 500 overtakes or 500 plus overtakes in 37 minutes of racing, maybe that's not the look you're after.
Yeah, I think this is my probably hot take. It's good for short-term clicks. Oh, we've got 500 overtakes, but in the long term, like people might watch one race and then go, yeah, no, not this.
Yeah, but
right,
no,
I've just looked up 554. Sorry, I got it a little bit
where
wrong.
did you find that? Because I haven't.
554 overtakes in Misano race.
But they haven't made a one, I'm assuming. But what I'm saying is that Formula E haven't made a big song and dance about it, and they did for Monaco, and I just think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, surely they've learnt the lesson from Portland that it's not the right way to go about it.
But it looks like if Silverstone is to be believed, then we're going to have more and more race circuits on the calendar, and we're going to potentially see more and more peloton style races. Unless Gen 3 Evo is, even though it looks like the car's gone on a diet, unless it does completely change the way that we go racing. With the
this could be.
We've barely even spoke about Gen 3 Evo, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah, that is true. It does look a lot better. Hopefully, it is a lot better because it needs to be. Because I think as it stands, you can click this up if you want. I think Formula E will be dead in about 5 years if it carries on the way it's going.
Oh. Big statement. Formula E will be dead in 5 years. Why? Explain more.
Well, if and it is an if they carry on with the peloton style racing, I don't see any growth in terms of people wanting to watch it. People will watch it for 1 or 2 races and then they'll stop watching it.
So what don't you like about it so much?
Well, what is there to like about it?
Well, because the counter argument is right, and I'm not saying I agree with the counter argument, but the counter argument is it's chaos, it's fun, it's crazy. You're on the edge of your seat watching it because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know who's going to win the race, and people like that.
You can say all that, but no one likes okay, yeah, fair enough. You don't know who's going to win the race, but the first how many laps until they do the sprint. Okay, you don't know who's going to win it, but it's also irrelevant, so you're not paying attention to it because it's pointless. And then when you get to the 2-lap sprint, you know who's going to win it because whoever's got to the front of the thing can't be overtaken now because it's a flat-out race.
And then it's the most efficient.
So then it's boring to the point where it's actually racing.
So do you think for Gen 4, right? So when we get to Gen 4, like that, Gen 4 should be where they get rid of peloton style races or altogether.
I think they should just get rid of peloton style races.
So that means
it's not entertaining.
So I'm just trying to think because I've asked this question. I asked this question to Ian James as well. Like I said, what do you want as a car manufacturer? Like, do you want these high performance races where the races are shorter, or do you want these longer races where range is important, for example? And obviously we haven't seen Attack Charge yet, so Attack Charge could be massive in terms of these peloton style races and maybe reducing them. So we don't know yet. So it's a big call to say Formula E will be dead in 5 years. I don't think I agree with it, because I think the sport will change. I don't know if you agree with that, Pico.
I don't think in 5 years, but I have said in the past it wouldn't surprise me if we're past the halfway point in Formula E's lifespan. But they do need to certainly change it up because I mean the reaction from this style of racing, I'd say, has mostly been negative. So
it's definitely been mostly negative.
And there were a few people going like, "Oh, this is amazing," but that was after Portland, and so I'm not sure if that died down more now that we've seen like Misano and Sao Paulo and races like that. But yeah.
No, I can't understand why people find it interesting. Like, okay, this is me myself, but why would you bother watching the first half of the race?
Well, this is what we said. This is what we said after Misano. It's what we said. Like, I have to agree with you. Like, the first 24 laps, of Misano in the first race, you didn't need to watch them because you just need to watch the final 3 laps, which I get that argument. And we've got Edison York in chat who says, he doesn't mind. So maybe Edison, we need to get you on, and hey, your counter argument, maybe not tonight because we're nearly finishing, but maybe tomorrow, if you're free to come on tomorrow once Mark Preston's finished, we can continue this debate, because it is a big debate in Formula E, and I look at it more from a technical standpoint. It's like, well, what do we want to show off? Because effectively we're coming to a place, what do we want to show off? And the engineers, and Ian James was right in what he said, is like, well, we could show both. We could show, and very much what Jeff Dodd says, we could show the range and how that's improved, and we could show performance. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be a mix and match, right? Pick a mix if you want. Right?
But why can't you show...
For me, range is the most important thing about EVs.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what I would say.
Constantly, everyone bangs on about, oh, I have to charge it up every 200 mile, and then I have to sit around in a service station for 40 minutes to even charge that up half the way, and that's a lot of the criticism of EVs, and so that's where they need to focus it on.
My point would be, why don't they just focus on the range for the race, and then for qualifying, that's where performance comes in. You can have both. That's where the performance comes in qualifying, and then the range is the race. Why do they need to make it more complicated than that?
Yeah, no.
I think what I've always said about Formula E is they've always looked to have something unique about it. When the uniqueness comes from its electric cars.
Yeah. But
why can't it just be the motorsport for electric cars? Why does it need to have all these different dynamics in it when it can just be simple?
Yeah. I mean, I've said in the past, Gen 3 has just been pointless if tack charge don't come in.
I agree with that totally.
There's just been no point in Gen 3.
Gen 2 was much better.
Yeah,
much better.
Yeah, the thing is, Gen 2 was innovative because we went from having 2 cars a race to 1 car a race. And the big thing about Gen 3 was that we were going to have fast charging pit stops. And that has not materialised 2 years in.
But hopefully it will materialise next season. Which is interesting. Chris, I feel like we needed you to talk to Jeff, because I would really have found this interesting if you asked this to Jeff, to be honest with you, and see what he would have said. So if Jeff...
I would have panicked a little bit if Chris had come on and then his opening line went, you know what, Formula E's dead in 5 years' time.
Maybe.
Can you imagine it?
Yeah, but it's the ongoing debate, and as I said, this is what this show started from, because we've got people in chat, like Case from F1 is here as well, and he's kind of just explaining, he thinks that the Gen 4 battery issue will solve the idea of peloton style races. So we're not gonna, so to your answer of Formula is going to die, he thinks Gen 4 will fix that problem with batteries.
What I said is, if it carries on with this style of racing, it will. Like, I don't think they will. I don't think they're stupid enough to carry on with it. But my point is, if they've seen these politics, I mean, this is the thing that worries me. If they want to go down the peloton race, it will be dead. It will.
I see where you're coming from. I truly do, and it's an interesting debate, and I'd love to bring it on. And if people want to talk about the peloton style once Mark Preston, and maybe we can talk to Mark about the peloton style, and maybe what he thinks the Gen 3 Evo, because obviously he's making one with Lola, so we can ask him all about the powertrain for next season and the differences and how it affects the cars, because he's the man in the know, and maybe even going into Gen 4, because he'll need to know that too. So I think there's so many questions to ask Mark Preston tomorrow. And if you're a Formula E fan, if you're nerding out about Gen 3 Evo and Gen 4, and you want to find out where the series could progress, Mark Preston is a very intelligent man. I've spoken to him many a time, and I think, tomorrow's show could be really interesting. We'll have our questions, but we obviously want your questions. So if you could all come on and have something prepped for tomorrow, that'd be absolutely amazing. But Chris, we're going to leave it there, right? We'll park the debate there. If you want to come on tomorrow and we'll talk about it afterwards as well, we'll definitely have you on, and we'll try and get the debate going on the peloton style races and the future of Formula E, and maybe that's what we talk about, is what is the future of Formula E, and people discuss what they think is. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your opinion.
Thanks.
No worries. Right, Mr. Pickering, we did it. Another show in the books.
These just keep on getting longer.
Yeah, no, I wanted to stop 10 minutes ago, but we've had a bit of extra time for whatever reason. I see it like the breaks that we have, and then we make up the time that we have for the breaks.
I mean, look, I've had enough of extra time.
No extra
at the weekend when Pompey went to Lincoln Pompey went to 11 minutes. Oh my god, and that was just 11 minutes given. It actually went on to 14 minutes additional time before they finished. So it was
unreal.
Awful.
But that has been the FE Bar. We are back tomorrow with our interview with Mark Preston. It worked very similar to how it worked with Jeff Dodds. There will be it won't be in the waiting room, but we will create a Zoom waiting room. Once we are all set up, we will drop the
same
Zoom
format
call.
as Jeff. For those who were there last week, I'll put a refresher in the Discord tomorrow. Join the Discord, !Discord in the chat on YouTube if you want to join it.
And if you haven't, if you're sitting here, by the way, and you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you doing? Right? Because hit the subscribe. It's free. Just hit the subscribe button.
I am subscribed.
Good thing. Yeah. And hit the like button as well. It all helps massively. Honestly, I think we're creating a really good little community here, Formula E, and if we can keep reaching out, keep getting you in. If you're not in the Discord yet, get in the Discord. So Caterham F1, you're in the chat. It's been absolutely amazing having you in the chat. I have no idea if you're in the Discord. You may be, because your disguise of your name might be slightly different, but if not, join. It's a nice thing to do, right? Come talk to us. The Nutter as well. Don't know if you're in, right? Just come join. It's a nice place to be, right? But thank you so much for watching the FE Bar. We will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Please join us then.
Not another one.
Good night.